Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, August 19th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Now, if you're looking for my MLB best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Of course, I'm always running my $15 MLB best bet, so you can check that out at Pick Dawgz Premium. And don't forget, you can use the code AUG15, that's AUG15, to save 15% at checkout. We've been red hot with those MLB best bets. I think we've hit 6 in a row now, so you can check those out at Pick Dawgz Premium. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Friday, August 19th. First up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Chicago Cubs. We're going to see Aaron Ashby and Keegan Thompson on the mound. Now, Aaron Ashby's got a 2-10 record. His ERA is above 4, but I do think he's been getting a little bit unlucky on the mound this year for the most part. He still has given up 3 home runs in his last 2 starts. That's not going to get it done, but he's facing a Chicago Cubs lineup that hasn't been the best against left-handed pitching, and Aaron Ashby's xFIP is below 4 for a reason, so I do think we're going to start to see him sharpen up as the season continues. On the other side, Keegan Thompson's been very good at home this year. His numbers at Wrigley Field, a 2.4 ERA, a 6-2 record, an opponent's batting average of 226 compared to on the road, a 5.84 ERA. However, even if this is a lower scoring and close contest early on, I really don't like the Chicago Cubs bullpen if this is a close game late. And I think that's where the Brewers have a big advantage. They have, in my opinion, one of the better, probably top 5 bullpen in the league right now. Milwaukee does, where I could see the Cubs having the worst bullpen in baseball. So, you know, even if the Cubs are up by a run or 2 in the late going, I still think the Brewers are going to get there eventually. Give me the Milwaukee Brewers here on the money line. Next up, we see the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the New York Yankees. This is going to be your Apple TV game. Kevin Gausman and Jameson Taillon are your projected starters. And we know the New York Yankees offense hasn't been doing much against right-handed pitching. Now, they had that big game against the Rays in the last series, in that Tampa Bay series where they scored 8 runs. They hit the walk-off grand slam. But still, overall, since the All-Star break, the Yankees' offense has been one of the weaker ones in the American League, especially against those righties. And Kevin Gausman's numbers, not good at home, but pretty darn good on the road. And I do think he'll have a good outing in this one against the Yankees. When you look at Gausman on the road this season, a 1.83 ERA through 64 innings pitched, only 2 home runs allowed, 74 strikeouts through 64 innings, and a 227 opponent's batting average. He has been very sharp on the road, and I think he'll have a quality start here for Toronto. But on the other side, Jameson Taillon's pitching well at Yankee Stadium, a 6-1 record with a 3.61 ERA, 64 strikeouts in about 67 innings, coming off a decent start against the Red Sox. He didn't get the win. The Red Sox did lose 3-0 in the end, but Taillon went 7 innings, 3 earned runs. The Yankees would definitely take that in a game like this, and I think they could see a similar stat line for this one as well. Give me the under in this Blue Jays-Yankees game. I think it's going to be a close one, pretty low-scoring game, and really a coin flip as far as who's going to win it outright. Next up, we see the Boston Red Sox taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Cutter Crawford and Jordan Lyles are your starters. Now, Cutter Crawford's had a pretty good start to 2022. We've seen him have some mixed results here and there, especially in his outing against the Orioles, but he is a guy who's going to get some strikeouts. He's got 65 strikeouts and 64.2 innings pitched, so about a strikeout per inning. That's exactly what you want to see. But the home runs and walks are concerning at times. We saw him give up a home run and 4 walks in his most recent start against the New York Yankees. And going into Camden Yards, facing a really tough lineup in the Orioles, a lineup that does well against right-handed pitching, I just don't love this spot for Cutter Crawford. While on the other side, I really can't back Jordan Lyles either. The Red Sox numbers offensively getting there. They're getting better as in the last 2 weeks or so, I would say. And Jordan Lyles coming off a start where he did have 9 strikeouts, but he also gave up 4 earned runs, a home run, 2 walks against the Rays, and he's given up 3 home runs in his last 2 starts combined. I think the Red Sox get to Lyles. I think the Orioles get to Crawford. I don't love this Red Sox bullpen either, so I think we could see some scoring late. Give me the over in this Red Sox-Orioles matchup. In our next matchup, we see the biggest game on the board. I can't wait for this series. The Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Graham Ashcraft and Bryce Wilson are your starters. This is a really tough game for me. I think it's a coin flip type of game, and we don't even have a lineup for this beauty quite yet. So, you know, we're just going to have to wait and see if these are the official starters. I do believe they will, but Bryce Wilson overall this year not having a good 2022 campaign. His ERA above 5 at 5.93, so just under 6. And he has been pitching better since the All-Star break, but not much better. And on the other side, Graham Ashcraft, he's been known to be a pitch-to-contact guy, and he was having success as that type of a pitcher early on this year. But Now he's starting to give up some home runs. He's given up at least one homer in 4 of his last 5 starts. So if you're not striking out batters and you're giving up home runs and walks, which you've also seen him give up 5 free passes in his last 2 starts combined. That's where you're going to run into some issues. And I know the Pirates' offense isn't anything to write home about, but I still think they'll be able to make Ashcraft pay for a few runs here. Like I said, not my favorite game on the board, but if I had to choose, I would take the home team. I do think the Pirates have the better bullpen, and even though they might not have the better starter on paper, I think Wilson will have a better start in this one, in this particular game. Give me the Pittsburgh Pirates here on the money line. We head to Citizens Bank Park as the New York Mets take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Chris Bassitt and Aaron Nola are your starters. Now, Chris Bassett's been one of the strongest starters in the league since the All-Star break, or really since the beginning of July. However, I will say a lot of his starts recently have been at home, and that's where he's had a lot of success at Citi Field. His last 2 starts were very strong outings, both of them at home. And at home, a 2.55 ERA through 77 innings pitched, but on the road in 57 1/3 innings, 4.24 ERAs, giving up more home runs and less innings on the road. A 244 opponent's batting average, less strikeouts, some more walks allowed as well. So hasn't been very sharp on the road. I do think the Phillies will get to him in this spot for a few runs. On the other side, Aaron Nola was outstanding against this Mets lineup in his last start on August 13th. 8 innings, 1 earned run, and 8 strikeouts, no homers. The Phillies did lose that game 1-0 in the end, but it wasn't Nola's fault. He was outstanding, one of his best starts of the season. And although he might not be able to repeat that, I still think he'll give the Phillies 6 to 7 strong innings, enough for the Phillies to grab a win at home here, a really much-needed win. Give me the Philadelphia Phillies here on the money line. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Detroit Tigers. Patrick Sandoval and Matt Manning are your starters. Now, we know the Detroit Tigers play much better at home this year, and they also hit a lot better against left-handed pitching. They're going to be at home facing a lefty here in Patrick Sandoval, and Sandoval's giving up a lot of free passes lately. Really, it's been the whole season where he's given up 49 walks already in 100 innings, so about a walk every other inning, and he gave up 8 walks in his last 2 starts, his last 10 1/3 against the Mariners and Twins combined. That is very concerning. I think the Tigers can score a few early on in this one. Angels bullpen, nothing crazy either, I would say. Although the Tigers bullpen has been struggling, I still think Detroit has the better pen overall. On the other side, Matt Manning is a tough pitcher to read. He did struggle last time out, but that was against the Chicago White Sox, a team that's been playing a lot better recently and also hitting righties a lot better recently. The Angels lineup just not quite the same, and Manning's got good velocity on his fastball. At home, he's been razor sharp this season in 13 innings, only 1 earned run allowed. I think he'll have a good outing here, even though he may not be my favorite type of pitcher. He's not really a strikeout guy yet, 17 Ks in 25 innings. But in his last 12 innings, he does have 12 strikeouts and no home runs allowed. That's really the important part for me. Give me the Detroit Tigers here. We're getting plus money, so why not? I'll take them on the money line. In our next game, we see a big AL Central matchup between the Chicago White Sox and the Cleveland Guardians. This game and this series have a lot of playoff implications, as both teams are gunning for the American League Central title or maybe a spot in the AL wildcard race. But nonetheless, we see Lance Lynn and Tristan McKenzie on the mound. Now, 2 starters that look a lot different on paper. Look like a mismatch on paper, with Lynn at that 5.62 ERA and McKenzie at that 3.14 ERA. However, the books aren't really deceived by that. The line is only -135, -140 in Cleveland's favor, so still a pretty even matchup overall. The Cleveland getting a little bit of better of a price, especially being the home team here. But I like the way the White Sox are playing. If you throw out that game on Thursday afternoon where they just got rocked by the Astros, Lucas Giolito was pitching in that one, and he has just not been great all season long. And they kind of brought in the mop-up role guys, Velasquez and Ruiz in the late innings. But I think the White Sox in this series will be competitive, and they have to be if they want to make a run at that division title. You know, Lance Lynn's coming off a really good outing in his most recent one. He got the win for the White Sox against the Tigers, 6 innings, 2 earned, 7 strikeouts. While McKenzie gave up 2 homers against the Blue Jays, he only had 3 Ks in 6 2/3 innings. We know the White Sox bats are starting to heat up against righties. They don't really strike out much at the plate. Their power numbers are going up a little bit as well. I think they could score a few runs in McKenzie here, and I think at plus money, it's worth a shot here. I trust the White Sox bullpen, other than Emmanuel Clase, who I think is the best closer in baseball, or one of them, for the Guardians. I think this Guardians bullpen is due for some regression. I think the White Sox have the advantage there, and I think they are the hotter team right now. Give me the Chicago White Sox here on the money line. Next up, we see the Kansas City Royals taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. We're going to see Brady Singer and Shane McClanahan as the starters, and Brady Singer is pitching very well. I got to give it to him. His last start, 6 innings, no earned runs, and 7 strikeouts. And we saw him pitch against this Tampa Bay Rays lineup back on July 23rd. He went 6 innings, 12 strikeouts, only 1 earned run allowed, and the Royals won that game outright. On the other side, Shane McClanahan, hasn't been the strongest since the All-Star break. That has definitely been the case. However, his last start was a nice bounce-back outing. He gave up only 2 earned runs through 6 innings against a pretty tough Orioles lineup. Overall, McClanahan has still been one of the best pitchers in the American League this season, and I think against the Kansas City Royals lineup that isn't the strongest in terms of isolated power numbers against lefties. You look at their numbers in the last 30 days, ranked 23rd in isolated power. I think he'll have a good outing here, even though the Royals team OPS pretty good against lefties this season and in the last 30 days. I like McClanahan to have a good start, give the Rays about 6-7 strong innings here. The total is set very low for a reason, and I do like the under. When you look at how these teams' strikeout rates have been rising and rising against lefties and righties in the last month or so, I think we're going to see a lot of missed bats in this game, and I think we're going to see a lot of missed scoring opportunities. Give me the under in the Royals-Rays. In our next matchup, we see another fantastic series between the Houston Astros and the Atlanta Braves, a rematch of last year's World Series, an interleague matchup here between two teams that should be in the playoffs yet again. The Astros almost guaranteed to win that division, while the Braves might not win that NL East, but they are up there in terms of the NL wildcard race. And we're going to see Kyle Wright and Lance McCullers Jr. for this one. Pretty interesting pitching matchup in my opinion. You know, Kyle Wright has not been my favorite pitcher in the last month or so, but I will say he had a really strong bounce-back performance in his most recent outing against the Red Sox. 6 innings, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts. I'd like to see the strikeout numbers rise a bit, but that 13-5 ground ball to fly ball ratio and not giving up a home run, that's the most impressive part to me. Kyle Wright is more of a ground ball pitcher, and he had some big issues with the home run ball. He gave up 4 to the Mets. You had a stretch where he gave up at least 1 through 5 consecutive starts. He's not going to have success if he's giving up the long ball, especially at that kind of rate. But for him to go back and face a pretty good lineup at Fenway Park, a hitter-friendly park, in the Red Sox, and not give up a home run and only give up 1 earn with that nice ground ball fly ball ratio, that is impressive to me. The Astros obviously lit up the White Sox pitching staff on Thursday, scoring 19-plus runs in that game. But I still think that Kyle Wright will have a good outing here. And on the other side, Lance McCullers Jr., this is only going to be his second start back from injury, and although he pitched well in his first start against the A's, that is the Oakland A's, one of the weaker lineups in baseball. He also had 4 walks allowed through 6 innings, so the control was off here and there. I know the Atlanta Braves do strike out quite a bit as a team, but they can get on base and they can definitely take pitchers deep. We saw McCullers struggle a little bit in the rehab starts that he had before making his season debut with the Astros, so I think the Braves could score a few runs on McCullers Jr. This is going to be an electric, probably a playoff atmosphere type of series in Game 1. But I'm going to take the Atlanta Braves here on the money line behind Kyle Wright. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Minnesota Twins. Another Apple TV game here with Martin Perez and Dylan Bundy as your starters. I like the over in this matchup. Not my favorite game on the board. The Twins' numbers against lefties, both in the top 15 in team OPS and isolated power in the last month. And we're starting to see the Martin Perez of old as he's starting to walk a lot of batters, giving up home runs in 2 of his last 3 starts. And that's where Perez has struggled in recent seasons. And so far this year, he hasn't done that a lot. But when you give up 5 walks in your most recent start against the Mariners and at least 3 in 4 of your last 5, that's where I start to worry. So I think the Twins can get on the board against Perez, and this Rangers bullpen is one of the weaker ones in the league, in my opinion. So I like the Twins to score from start to finish. On the other side, Dylan Bundy, he's been a tough pitcher to read, that's for sure. I mean, his ERA is still at 4.76. At home, a 2.83 ERA, so he pitches a lot better at home this season, but I still don't know if I can trust him. His strikeout rate is way, way down. He's given up a lot of home runs in his most recent outings, and even though he pitched well against the Angels last start, he only had 1 strikeout through 5 innings, and I think that was more of a fluke than anything else. I can't really trust Bundy in this one. I think the Rangers lineup has proven it's a pretty solid one, and if the Rangers can get a pitching staff in the next few years, this could be a competitive team in a couple years that maybe can compete for a division title in that AL West. But right now, I think both of these bullpens are one of the weaker ones in the American League. I think both of these starters have some issues, and both lineups can put up some runs. So I'm going to take the over in this Rangers-Twins game. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the Colorado Rockies. Alex Wood and Jose Urena are your starters. Now, Jose Urena's faced a lot of tough teams as of late. He has struggled in all of those starts, basically, as he's starting to regress quite a bit. But the Giants' lineup against righties hasn't been the strongest. You know, I don't really know whether I can trust Urena in this one or not, but what I do think will happen is I think the Rockies are going to score some runs in this game. I like their team total over 5.5 in this one. Alex Wood gave up 3 earned and only 4 1/3 in his only start at Coors Field this season, so not a very good performance by him. And the Giants' bullpen is ranked 27th in projected WAR right now, so I think the Rockies' bats at Coors, they're a very hitter-friendly park, the most hitter-friendly park in baseball. I think they'll show up here and score 6, 7, maybe even more runs in this game. I like the Rockies team total over. I lean towards the full game over as well, but Jose Urena could surprise some people as he's facing the weakest lineup he has since July 16th about, and that was against the Pirates, and that was a shutout performance at home. I'm not saying he's going to shut out the Giants through 6 innings of work, but I will say I do like the Rockies offense in this matchup. Give me the team total over for Colorado. Next up, we see the Seattle Mariners taking on the Oakland Athletics. We see Marco Gonzalez and Cole Irvin as your starters. Not my favorite game on the board, as Marco Gonzalez is not really my favorite starter on the board. His xFIP is pretty high. His DRA is already rather high at 4.18. He gives up a good amount of home runs, and the Oakland A's lineup against lefties hasn't been too bad. However, I do trust the Mariners lineup against Cole Irvin, another lineup that's also been pretty good against lefties. And Cole Irvin's last start, he wasn't able to strike. He only struck out 1 batter, 6 innings. He gave up a home run, 5 earned against the Astros. We're starting to see him give up a lot of home runs. And like I mentioned earlier in the video, when pitch-to-contact guys are giving up home runs, that's where you got to worry. So a guy like Ashcraft who's given up home runs and a guy like Irvin who's given up a home run in each of his last 4, that's starting to be concerning against this Mariners lineup especially. The Mariners have the much better bullpen, a much more trustworthy bullpen in my opinion. So give me the Seattle Mariners at a pretty good price here on the money line. In our next game, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. We're going to see Miles Mikolas, and we're going to see Tommy Henry on the mound for this one. Now, Miles Mikolas bounced back in a big way his most recent outing. He went 8 innings, 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts against the Brewers, and a 6-3 win. And now, in 3 of the last 4 starts Mikolas has had, the Cardinals have won outright. Now, a couple of those wins against some weaker teams in the Nationals and Cubs. But I do think Mikolas does enough here to get the win for the Cardinals. On the other side, I really like the Cardinals matchup against Tommy Henry, a left-handed pitcher. We know the Cardinals have hit lefties basically all season long, and their offense showed up in a big way on Thursday afternoon, scoring 13 runs. Pujols got his 690th career home run via a grand slam. He'll probably be in the lineup here facing the lefties, so maybe he can get 691. But I do like the Cardinals offense in this spot. Give me the St. Louis Cardinals on the money line. Next up, we see the San Diego Padres hosting the Washington Nationals. Paolo Espino and Blake Snell are your starters, and this is another game where we see a big money line price. San Diego minus 365 right now. To me, the only option is to lay the 1.5 or 2.5, maybe even 3.5 runs with the Padres. I do like their matchup. I think they'll get to Paolo Espino, who's 0-5 with that ERA above 4 this year. On the road this year, his ERA is a little bit better, but he still gives up a lot of home runs, doesn't strike out a ton of batters. He gave up 4 earned in only 5 2/3 innings against the Padres last start, and that was a 6-0 San Diego win. I can see a similar scoreline here. Blake Snell's been really sharp after the All-Star break. We're starting to get some value betting on him, and although that value is not going to be seen in this game because of that crazy price, you know, he was dominant in his last start against these Nationals. 6 innings, no earned, 10 strikeouts, no walks. He hasn't given up a home run in 3 straight games, and only 2 walks combined in 3 straight games as well. Give me the San Diego Padres here. I'll lay 2.5 runs at home. And in our final game of the night, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. 2 lefties going at it here, Jesus Luzardo and Tyler Anderson. And you guys know when there's a lefty facing the Marlins, it's really tough to back them this year, and that's the case in the last month. They're dead last in team OPS against lefties in the last 30 days and 27th in isolated power. The strikeout rate is the highest in baseball at 30.5%. The walk percentage is one of the lowest in baseball at 6.8%. And although I do like Jesus Luzardo and he's pitching pretty well with Miami after the injury, I don't think the Marlins offense does enough to compete in this game. The Dodgers have been so good on the run line, especially at home, and I do think they'll cover the run line yet again in this spot. But I also do like the under, as I don't think Miami does much offensively, but like I said, Luzardo's been pitching well. Tough travel spot here for the Dodgers going from Milwaukee to LA. So maybe some sluggish bats early on, but I think in the end the Dodgers win this game by 1.5 or more. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday, August 19th. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.